of you there are sharing some bad news from the CDC today. Apparently, this year's flu vaccine is only 23% effective this season. So why in the heck do we get it, right? That's pretty low, but it's not as low as some years. Some years it's only been 10% effective. So we're going to break this all down for you. We have a doctor in the house, Dr. Devi. She is an assistant professor from the New York University School of Medicine joining us now. Dr. Devi, good to have you.
Nice to see you.
You know, I think a lot of people are frustrated because at times they feel like, I do this as a preventative measure, but sometimes I get sick just from the vaccine.
We think we do.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe it's just in our minds. But why in the world would we ever get it if we're hearing it's 22% effective?
Well, you brought up a couple good points. I mean, sometimes people think that they're getting sick from the vaccine, but that's actually impossible to do because the vaccine, at least in terms of a shot, is a dead virus. So what's actually happening is that they get the vaccine, but it's not protecting them from the flu. So usually the range in terms of the effectiveness can be 10 to 60%, right? So in those cases, they might catch the flu anyway. In this case, there's still a chance of that. It's only 23%. It's not 60%. But the thing is, it's 23% compared to nothing. So if you don't get the vaccine, you have no protection at all.
Okay, that is a very good point. We want to make sure that people get their questions answered, and a lot of our viewers sent this to us, Dr. Devi. The CDC recommends, obviously, the antiviral treatment like Tamiflu. But Dan asks, why is Tamiflu by prescription? I mean, if it works so well, why can't you just go pick it up at the drugstore?
Well, that would be ideal. I mean, the thing is that decision's made by a couple different factors. The pharmaceutical company has to decide if it wants the medication to be over the counter or if it wants to be prescription. And then it has to follow a whole bunch of rules and regulations to actually comply with all the government regulations. So I don't know that healthcare providers have so much control over that. But I do think that people who are at higher risk of complications from the flu, let's say people with asthma, people with diabetes, people who are older, people who are much younger, it might be worth actually trying to get a prescription even before you have symptoms. I mean, not all doctors will go for that, but I think, the key to these antivirals is to actually start them as soon as you have symptoms, as opposed to waiting a few days and trying to wait it out and decide if you need it or not. It doesn't work as well at that point.
And such a good point because, so many times when we report on this, it's the elderly and the young folks that really are most affected. Well, Dr. Devi, there's another viewer out there, and I love this question. They say, I have a niece who's a nurse, and so many nurses, they're forced to get the flu shot every year or else they'll lose their jobs, right? So she says she refuses to have her children get it. She claims that unlike other vaccines, the annual flu vaccine is unregulated in its ingredients, and I've heard there are some ingredients in there. I've heard that before. Is that true?
No, so the vaccine is actually regulated by the FDA. So it's regulated in terms of the flu itself, the virus part, the dead virus or the inactivated or weakened virus. There are different kinds. And then it's also looked at in terms of the ingredients. So they're all regulated. I mean, people have some concerns. Some of the components can be different depending on the manufacturer of the vaccine, but they're all basically regulated. So so that should not be one of the things that stops.
It's comforting, Dr. Devi. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Devi. We appreciate it.